Progressive activist and independent presidential candidate Cornel West speaks at a demonstration in Union Park outside the Democratic National Convention Wednesday, August 21, 2024, in Chicago. A pair of Fulton County judges have disqualified independent presidential candidate Cornel West and Party for Socialism and Liberation candidate Claudia de la Cruz from Georgia's ballot. This Democrat-backed challenge reverses Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's decision late last month to put West and de la Cruz on the ballot. Last month, Raffensperger also ruled Green Party candidate Jill Stein qualified to be on the ballot. In the case of West, Judge Thomas Cox Jr. wrote in his ruling that there is insufficient time to strike the candidate's name or reprint the ballots. Instead, the Superior Court of Fulton County is ordering the Secretary of State to post notices at all polling locations to indicate that West is not a valid presidential candidate. West has been running as an independent in Georgia. De la Cruz is the nominee for the Party of Socialism and Liberation but technically qualified for the Georgia ballot as an independent. If the rulings stand, presidential choices for Georgia voters will include Republican Donald Trump, Democrat Kamala Harris, Libertarian Chase Oliver and Green Party nominee Jill Stein, the most candidates since 2000. Democrats, Republicans and Libertarians automatically qualify for elections in Georgia. Spokespersons for West and de la Cruz said they would appeal the decision to the Georgia Supreme Court. "We are confident that we will win the appeal," Edwin De Jesus with the West campaign wrote in an email. "We are appealing this decision which negates basic democratic rights of the people of Georgia to vote for the candidate of their choice," Esteban Hernandez, co-chair of de la Cruz's campaign in Georgia, said in a statement. "This is the result of the effort by the Democratic Party to sabotage democratic rights of Georgia voters at the very moment that they say that the 2024 election is about democracy itself." Wednesday's rulings were the latest turn in the on-again, off-again saga of ballot access for independent and third-party candidates in Georgia. An administrative law judge disqualified West, de la Cruz, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the Georgia Green Party from the ballot. But Raffensperger, who gets the last word in such matters, overruled the judge, and said West and de la Cruz should get access. Raffensperger also ruled that under a new Georgia law, Stein should go on Georgia ballots because the National Green Party had qualified her in at least 20 other states. Kennedy's name stayed off ballots because he withdrew his candidacy in Georgia and a number of other states after suspending his campaign and endorsing Trump. Democrats appealed Raffensperger's decisions on West and de la Cruz and filed a fresh action challenging his decision on Stein, seeking to block candidates who could siphon votes from Harris after Joe Biden won Georgia by fewer than 12,000 votes in 2020. Cox dismissed the Democratic challenge to Stein's inclusion on Wednesday. He wrote that Raffensperger has a clear legal duty to allow the unified Green Party to qualify candidates for presidential elector and to allow those candidates access to the November 4, 2024 general election ballot. If Democrats want to contest the issue further, they should do so before an administrative law judge, Cox wrote. The judge agreed with Democratic arguments that under state law, at least one of West's electors should have filed a petition with the required 7,500 signatures from registered voters in their own name. Instead, the petition was filed only in West's name. While West only needed a single presidential elector to properly qualify to provide him with ballot access, none of his candidates satisfied the requirements to do so, Cox wrote. Richardson made a similar ruling against de la Cruz. Georgia is one of several states where Democrats and allied groups have filed challenges to third-party and independent candidates. Republicans in Georgia intervened, seeking to keep all the candidates on the ballot. That's just one push in a Republican effort across battleground states to prop up liberal third-party candidates such as West and Stein in an effort to hurt Harris. It's not clear who's paying for the effort. Jeff Amy, The Associated Press. The same goes for de la Cruz, but Judge Emily Richardson ruled that in places where there is time to reprint ballots, the socialist candidate's name should be removed. Brad Raffensperger's decision. Both rulings could be appealed. De la Cruz will be visiting Atlanta Friday to campaign, according to the Party for Socialism and Liberation in Atlanta. Green Party nominee Jill Stein's case remains in progress, and Libertarian candidate Chase Oliver has already secured his spot on the ballot. This fight could be critical in November as who appears on the ballot could shift votes toward or away from Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Independent presidential candidate Cornel West's name will appear on Michigan's November 5 presidential ballot, along with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled Monday. In a terse order, the court refused to overturn an earlier ruling from the Michigan Court of Appeals. It rejected appeals filed by attorney Mark Brewer, a former chairman of the Michigan Democratic Party, alleging an affidavit West filed contained errors and some of his signatures were fraudulent. On August 30th, a 3-0 opinion from the Michigan Court of Appeals upheld a ruling by the Michigan Court of Claims, but reversed a ruling by the Michigan Bureau of Elections that West was ineligible for the ballot because of problems with an affidavit he filed with the state. The Michigan Democratic Party has been fighting to keep West off the ballot, as has voter Rosa Holliday, who is represented by attorney Mark Brewer, a former Michigan Democratic Party chair. The Michigan Department of State appealed the Court of Claims ruling to the Michigan Court of Appeals, but did not follow through with an appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court, as Brewer did. West is a civil rights activist and philosopher who has taught at Harvard and other U.S. universities. Politically, he has described himself as a non-Marxist socialist. Though he has been polling at 1% or less in Michigan and nationally, that could be enough to have an impact in what is expected to be a close election between Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, and former President Donald Trump, the Republican nominee. Michigan Court of Claims Judge James Robert Redford on August 24 ordered the names of West and his running mate Melina Abdullah to be included on Michigan's presidential ballot. Redford said they had easily met the requirement of filing at least 12,000 eligible signatures. Finding no errors in Redford's reasoning, the Court of Appeals affirmed that opinion Friday. Redford's order overturned a contrary ruling made by the Michigan Bureau of Elections Under-Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat. Jonathan Brader, Michigan's elections director, told the West campaign August 16 that he was disqualified from the Michigan ballot because of defects in his affidavit of identity, which was filed with the state along with the required number of petition signatures. Brader's letter said there were several defects in the affidavit, including unfilled blanks on the form, the notary's public stamp being sent on a separate sheet of paper and the notary failing to identify what specific notarial act she was engaged in. But Redford ruled that under state law, West as an independent candidate was not required to file an affidavit of identity along with his signatures, making any deficiencies in that affidavit irrelevant. Also, on August 26, the Board of State Canvassers voted 3-1 to certify West for the ballot after hearing concerns from Brewer and others that thousands of the signatures West submitted were fraudulent. The board's vote upheld the position of the Bureau of Elections that West filed the required number of valid signatures. The board did not weigh in on the affidavit issue. Michigan Supreme Court confirmed Cornel West and Dr. Melina Abdullah will appear on the presidential ballot. In a major victory for the Cornel West 2024 campaign, the Michigan Supreme Court has denied the Democrats' appeals, officially securing Cornel West and Dr. Melina Abdullah a spot on Michigan's presidential ballot. We are thrilled by the court's decision to reject the appeals. This is a victory for democracy and ensures that the people of Michigan can vote for truth, justice and love, said Dr. Cornel West. ELH Shine, Michigan's lead volunteer, added, "This win energizes us to continue spreading West's message across the state. Michigan deserves leaders who truly represent them, and we're ready to give them that choice in November." Campaign spokesperson Edwin DeJesus emphasized the importance of this certification, noting, "Michigan is a critical battleground for our campaign, and with this ruling, we continue our mission. We're proud to see Michigan added to our growing ballot access map as we fight for justice across the nation." The West Abdullah campaign is dedicated to revitalizing Michigan's economy by bringing jobs and opportunity to local communities. Our national jobs program will focus on creating employment in key sectors like infrastructure, while the creation of federal public banking institutions aims to support local businesses and reinvest in community development. The West Abdullah campaign has the signatures and minor party nominations it needs to get on the ballot in 18 states. This includes 7 of the battleground states: Michigan, Georgia, Minnesota, Florida, Wisconsin, Virginia and North Carolina. Dr. West, affectionately known to many as Brother West, is the Dietrich Bonhoeffer Professor of Philosophy and Christian Practice at Union Theological Seminary. Dr. West is the former university professor at Harvard University, professor emeritus at Princeton University and the first black person to receive a PhD in philosophy from Princeton University. He has written 20 books and he is best known for his classics, Race Matters and Democracy Matters, and for his memoir, Brother West, Living and Loving Out Loud. He delivered the historic Gifford Lectures at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland in spring 2024. Dr. West enters the 2024 presidential contest at a time in which he describes a national crisis of moral bankruptcy and spiritual obscenity driven by a derelict duopoly of both major parties that equally places profits over people and the planet. West asserts that running as an independent candidate affords him the opportunity and duty to deliver policy prescriptions incorporated by and for the people, instead of political parties beholden to corporations and special interest groups who feel no solidarity with poor and working class people of all races, gender identities, and age groups. The Cornel West campaign to empower poor and working people everywhere stands at a pivotal moment in history, committed to being a true campaign for people around the globe. Our aim is and will always be to unite in solidarity with movements of truth and justice, who seek a choice beyond empire, white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy, and the confines of the corporate-dominated two-party system. About Dr. Melina Abdullah. Melina Abdullah is professor of Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA's College of Ethnic Studies, co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Los Angeles and Black Lives Matter Grassroots, where she is also director. She is a leader in the California Faculty Association, the faculty union both locally and statewide, and mama of three. Dr. Abdullah earned her PhD from University of Southern California in political science and her BA from Howard University in African American Studies. Abdullah has authored numerous articles and book chapters. Known by the moniker, Doc Melly Mel, she is creator, host, and producer of the radio programs Move the Crowd on KPFK 90.7 FM and This Is Not a Drill on KBLA Talk 1580, and is a recognized expert on race, gender, class, and social movements. In April 2024, Abdullah was announced as vice presidential pick for Dr. Cornel West in his run for president of the United States on a platform of truth, justice, and love. She is the first Muslim to run for the vice presidency.
As you leave the page, don't forget to hit the like bell and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.